All right, guys, so I have to try to convey to you just how cooked we are as a nation, and I don't think I have the ability. I don't think words can do justice just how cooked, barbecued, fried, filleted, whatever, broiled, boiled, whatever. There's in so many different ways we're cooked that I can't even wrap my mind around it. Never mind, come up with a way to persuade you of just how bad it is, okay? So, Trump has completely and utterly lost his mind. He's always been crazy, but the degree of crazy that we're working with now is far surpassing anything he's done in the past. I mean, it is just off the charts how mental he is at this moment. So first, let me show you exactly what's happening around Greenland. Take a look at this. Trump sent a message to Norway's prime minister saying he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump said it's time NATO does something for the U.S. and gives up full control of Greenland, according to PBS. So he sends a letter to the prime minister of Norway saying, well, since I didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe I'm not going to be so peaceful, and I think now you guys all have to give up. If you gave me the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe I wouldn't have forced you to give up Greenland, but now I'm going to force you to give it up because you snubbed me and didn't give me the Peace Prize. Oh my God, bro. Now, by the way, Norway doesn't give out the Peace Prize. Did that stop him from doing this? No. Also, Maria Corina Machado, who was given the Nobel Peace Prize, literally not only dedicated it to Trump, but just physically gave it to him the other day, which he accepted. Even though the Nobel Committee said you can't just hand it to somebody else. She didn't care, and he was like, I'll take it. So he does kind of have the Peace Prize physically on him, with him, okay? But think about, like, the irony here is going to, like, rip a hole in the space-time continuum. I'm so peaceful, I'm the most peaceful, but now I'm going to steal Greenland because you hurt my feelings. That would, like, be the absolute definition of a psychotic, sociopathic, bloodthirsty warmonger. You literally just kidnapped a sovereign leader of a foreign nation. You just did it. And you said, we're doing it to steal their natural resources and their oil and their minerals and their precious metals. That's what we're doing. And he's like, why don't you give me the Peace Prize? What? So we've now hit the point where Trump has gone beyond comic book villain status. Like, if somebody wrote a fictional character that did exactly this, people would say, that's too absurd, that's too preposterous, nobody's that goofy and silly with their evil. Like, you gotta reel it in a little bit and make it more realistic. It's so insane it's not even realistic, and he's actually doing it. He's worse than a cartoon villain. Jesus Christ. Homie is really creating the Fourth Reich right in front of our eyes, man. He really is. Then we get to this. Breaking, President Trump announces a 10% tariff on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, Netherlands, and Finland beginning February 1st. The tariff will be increased to 25% beginning on June 1st. Tariffs will remain in effect until the U.S. reaches a deal to buy Greenland. It's time for Denmark to give back, Trump says. Bro, you're tariffing like all of our top allies. He's tariffing our top allies, trying to coerce them and extort them into giving up Greenland. Okay, do you not understand the long-term consequences of this, y'all? I don't think you get it. I really don't think you get it. Like, it's over. Remember, I've always told you guys, Trump is acting in a way where he's like trying to force the hand of the world to get off the dollar as the world reserve currency. And he's only speeding that up. Now, like, nobody wants the dollar to be the world reserve currency because we are the fucking bully. We're the big bad bully in the world. We're the one that doesn't respect sovereignty and rights and independence. And the world's going to go, why do we work with you? China, at least, is not psychotic, and they're good to their word. And that's exactly what's happening. Okay, so we do this, which is just like, it's that meme of the U.S., a drawing of the U.S. and stabbing itself repeatedly with a knife. And it's the other countries looking at the U.S. like, what the fuck? That's exactly what's happening here. Here's Stephen Miller, one of the shadow presidents. And he comes out and he said the following. You literally can't make this up.
Denmark is a tiny country with a tiny economy and a tiny military. They cannot defend Greenland. They cannot control the territory of Greenland. Under every understanding of law that has existed about territorial control for 500 years, to control a territory, you have to be able to defend a territory.
A politician in Denmark came out and said Stephen Miller has the psychology of a rapist. And that's exactly right. What he's describing is, well, wait a second. If you can't defend yourself, why wouldn't I have my way with you? Is that how it works? You see a female that you find attractive and you know you're stronger than her. So like, hey, I can do whatever the fuck I want to her. What's she going to do? She can't stop me. This is what he's using. This is the mindset he's using for international affairs and geopolitics. That is insanity. That's so insane. Guys, I'm beginning to think it's possible the U.S. empire within a decade is just totally crumbles. Totally crumbles. Because as soon as they get off the dollar as the world reserve currency, guys, after that, I mean, our economy just collapses. It's a house of cards. It comes down immediately. And we have a massive debt crisis. Because now, there's no trust in the dollar anymore. So, they are playing with fire and they don't know or they don't care, or they're doing this on purpose, trying to destroy the U.S. on purpose because they're Manchurian candidates. They're fundamentally acting no different than a Manchurian candidate would act. This is insane. Threatening our allies, saying, well, you can't defend yourself, so I'm just going to steal you. What the fuck? That is the mentality of a rapist. All right, more. Danish military internal report says the U.S. military officials sought via unofficial channels information about key military facilities, airfields, and ports in Greenland that would be useful for an invasion, according to a newspaper from over there. So that's evidence the U.S. is serious about stealing Greenland. They're making moves behind the scenes to make a plan to steal Greenland. More. Look at this. Jay says, now that the U.S. is emulating all things Kremlin, here comes the America must save the ethnic Greenlanders from Danish oppression campaign. That's literally exactly right. This is exactly what Vladimir Putin said when he illegally and offensively invaded Ukraine. He said, well, there's ethnic Russians in the east, and so we're protecting them. So we're really conquering Ukraine and stealing Ukraine for the good of Ukrainians. And now you have the New York Post. Greenlanders speak out against Danish rule. Quote, they stole our future. So now they're bothering to try to do we want to come save them and give them freedom and democracy. Like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Whoever ran this headline should be launched into the fucking sun and tarred and feathered. I mean, this is insulting all of our intelligence. It's like with Venezuela, where Trump couldn't stay quiet about the real reason, and he's like, I'm stealing the oil. Whereas in the past, they would have said, oh, it's freedom and democracy, and we're trying to liberate them. Now, I'm stealing the oil. I mean, democracy or something. I mean, he's a dictator or whatever. Like, now we're doing this with Greenland? And as you can see, the community note here says, recent polls, early 2025, show a majority of Greenlanders favor independence, with figures around 56 to 67% supporting it. But crucially, a significant portion, around 45%, oppose it if it means a decrease in living standards. Well, a majority rejects joining the U.S. 85% rejects joining the U.S. So they want to be free and independent. Short of that, they'd rather stay with Denmark. And then the last thing on their mind would be joining the U.S. Why? Because at least with Denmark, they get like free healthcare, free college, high standard of living. With the U.S., they get fucking dick. They get nothing. I mean, what are you importing? Fucking McDonald's and diabetes? Like, why would you want to join us? And they don't. They don't want to join us. Of course they don't want to fucking join us. New President Donald Trump is privately ramping up his focus on another target in the Western Hemisphere, increasingly complaining to aides in recent weeks about Canada's vulnerability to U.S. adversaries in the Arctic, according to 2 U.S. officials, a senior administration official, and 3 former senior U.S. officials familiar with the discussions. So in other words, he wasn't even joking about that one. Because you guys know, we've gone over the list, screaming that we want Panama, we're going to take Panama, we're going to take Greenland, we're going to take Canada, we're going to change the border with Canada. We don't respect the borders that were drawn up with Canada. And you go down the list, Mexico, he's threatened Colombia. This is what he does. Cuba, he's threatening them too. He's serious about all of it. And now he wants them to draw plans to fucking take away the sovereignty of Canada. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you understand yet? People say I'm hyperbolic about Trump. I have been nowhere hyperbolic enough. I should have been more fucking hyperbolic. Are you kidding me? This guy, we need the 25th Amendment, or we need impeachment. We need to fucking get this guy out. We need to lock him up. He is a danger to the world. He's threatening World War III on a regular basis now. He's lost it. He's lost the plot. And every fucking bitch-ass Republican is marching right off the cliff. And all the Democrats, most of the Democrats, are not really saying much either. They're being quiet. Now, you might be thinking, well, hold on here. Let's see what even Republicans got to be like. Behind the scenes, they got to be like, I don't know about this, right? Wrong. Listen to what Ted Cruz says about it, this fucking weasel.
When it comes to Greenland, I want to commend President Trump for being single-mindedly focused on America first, on U.S. economic interest and U.S. national security interests. I believe it is overwhelmingly in America's national interest to acquire Greenland. A year ago, as chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, I chaired a hearing on the benefits to the United States of America of acquiring Greenland. Now, some folks in the press, they clutch their pearls and they say, well, what do you mean acquiring Greenland? How could that happen? Look, the whole history of America has been a history of acquiring new lands and new territories. Whether you go back to Thomas Jefferson making the Louisiana Purchase, about half of the United States of America today, or you go back to America purchasing Alaska from Russia. You want to talk about, at the time they called it Seward's Folly. It turned out to be an extraordinarily consequential purchase. Greenland has massive rare earth minerals and critical minerals. There are enormous economic benefits to America, but it's also, like Alaska, it is located on the Arctic, which is a major theater for potential military conflict with either Russia or China. It's also critical for the Golden Dome and defending America from potential missile strikes. I commend the president for focusing on American national security.
So Trump farts out this idea, and Ted Cruz, more gas, please, sir. Yes. Oh, it smells lovely, lovely. You have got to be fucking kidding me. And then he just said, yeah, they got all these minerals, bro, trillions of dollars worth. So, imperialism, colonialism, steal the natural resources. We're back in the fucking 1700s and 1800s. We don't abide by sovereignty and independence and rights. We don't care about international law. That's dead. That's gone. It's over. I commend the president for focusing on American national security. What a sick joke. Trump didn't even mention Greenland when he ran in 2020. He didn't mention it. Why? Because if he mentioned it when he ran, wouldn't have gone so well for him. You can't do the no new wars shtick, and then as soon as you get in there, how about 7 new wars? Let's do 7 new wars. And that's exactly what's happening. He's doing all these new wars. And that's why he didn't mention it on the campaign trail, because nobody's for it. Guys, the lowest poll I've seen supporting stealing Greenland in the U.S. is 4%. The highest is 14%. Now, by the way, the fact that 14% hit that in any poll is, like, those people need to be fucking locked up. Those people need to be in mental institutions. They're not okay. They're not okay, right? But having said that, that's your window, 4 to 14%. And he's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do that shit. And here comes Ted Cruz to tell him that his farts smell like fucking roses. All right. Here's what Bessent says when asked about this. Ready? Here we go.
As far as I have heard, has not taken military force off the table. If the United States were to take Greenland by force, how would that be different than Russia's annexation of Crimea?
Look, I believe that the Europeans will understand that this is best for Greenland, best for Europe, and best for the United States.
So, but military action is still on the table?
I haven't spoken with the president on that. And again, I believe that the Europeans will understand that the best outcome is for the U.S. to maintain or receive control of Greenland.
This is literally a terrorist death cult. I hope you guys understand that. It is a fascist terrorist death cult. Trump could decide to nuke Greenland tomorrow. They would defend it. Maybe for the first day or at the longest a week. Maybe they'd be a little not with it for a day to a week. But after that, they'd all be on board. They'd all be defending it. They'd all be focusing back on triggering the libs. This is a fascist terrorist death cult. And they are, like, the way history will judge this, this is the Fourth Reich. We're looking at an attempt to create the Fourth Reich. That's what it is. Here's another Republican, another profile in courage here, Representative Mike Turner. Listen to what he says about Greenland.
If we're talking about Greenland, this is not art of the deal. This is more the dating game. I mean, we need to be more on, how we would be a partner, not more how we would be compulsory. And this certainly isn't the type of language that someone should be using and trying to ask someone to join you in a partnership.
It's so insane to me that this is viewed as one of the more reasonable Republicans. Well, instead of just raping Greenland and stealing Greenland, you have to be nice about it and smooth with it and act like you're dating. You got to try to woo them and charm them. That's the idea. Do you fucking hear yourselves? Do you hear yourself? So this is the more liberal Republicans. This is their line. Yeah, we want to steal Greenland. Yeah, we want to do imperialism and colonialism. Yeah, we want to steal all their shit. Yeah, we want to break up NATO and destroy all of our fucking close alliances. Of course we want to do that. But we want to do it nicely and sweetly. I swear to God, man. All of these people need to be locked up. But it's okay, because at least we have Rand Paul. Because he's a libertarian, right? So if he's a libertarian, what that means is at least he's going to be principled in being anti-war, and he's going to stand up against this. And he will make sure there are consequences if Trump crosses this bright red line and illegally and offensively invades an ally. An ally. With Venezuela, they were an enemy. It's still against international law and U.S. law to do an illegal and offensive war against them because they weren't going to attack us. But now we're talking about doing the same thing with an ally Let's see what Mr. Anti-War Rand Paul has to say.
You say you think it's unconstitutional. Republican Congressman Don Bacon is saying he might even move to impeach President Trump if he takes military action against Greenland. You've described yourself as one of the president's biggest defenders during his past impeachment trials during his first administration. Would annexing Greenland be an impeachable offense, Senator Paul?
You know, the difficulty about saying you're going to impeach somebody because of a constitutional dispute, we have these all the time. I mean, we're not even positive how the court will decide this. So if the court decides one way or another, do we say that the minority have somehow committed an impeachable offense on the court? No, it ends up being an interpretation. So I think it's my job as part of Congress to discuss and check and balance the presidential powers. But I don't think every time there's a dispute between the presidential powers and the congressional powers that is something that we impeach people for.
We're literally talking about stealing Greenland. We're talking about bloodthirsty, warmongering, imperialism, colonialism. And his reaction here, don't get it twisted, he used a lot of words. His answer was no. Even if Trump steals Greenland, I will not support impeachment. Guys, nobody should ever, in a million years, ever again, consider ever supporting any Republican at any level of government ever. Period. This is obscene. And I really don't think these people understand how they're going to be viewed in hindsight. How history will view these people. I mean, this is, again, we're living through history in the worst possible way. And I need the Democrats to stand up and to actually fight back in a serious way. None of this bullshit. But the entire Republican Party is fucking lost. They're lost. They're gone. They're done. It's over. You would think they'd look at a poll and realize, hey, Trump has a 35% approval rating. Maybe I shouldn't go down with the sinking ship. But they have no sauce. They have no juice. They have no motion on their own. And so they're just like, fuck it. I'll go right along with the gelatinous, pedophile, war criminal, corrupt goon. Why not? How about this? European Union suspends trade deal with the U.S., Bloomberg reports. Because like I said, not only are there going to be, there are consequences people haven't even considered, haven't even thought of, because we got a bunch of fucking incompetent idiots who are running shit. They didn't even realize that the EU has nuclear options against us when it comes to economics. That they can fucking nuke us from orbit if Trump decides to go down this path. How about this? The far-right AfD leader. These are the Trump people of Germany. Listen to this. The leader says, quote, double standards. We've heard for years of whining about Putin violating international law. Now those same critics are strangely quiet when Trump does what they criticize Putin for in Venezuela and Greenland. Even the far-right Trump people in Germany are going, yeah, the Venezuela thing was completely illegal under international law. It's the same shit that we yelled at Putin for. And now you're doing it with Greenland too? So what they need to understand is you all need to band together. You all need to use the nuclear option against the U.S. You need to nuke the trade deals you have with the U.S. You need to get off the dollar. You need to make Trump realize this is not an option, bitch. You go down this road, you destroy your country, you destroy your presidency, you destroy your legacy. It's over. They already should have invoked it a while ago, by the way, and they didn't. But now maybe they're starting to wake up. Because Greenland's on the table. How about this, guys? You want to talk about nuclear options? 74% of all insulin used in America comes from Denmark. They could cut that off in a fucking second. 100% of all Ozempic used in America comes from Denmark. 15% of all shipping containers arrive in America come from a Danish company. All three are being discussed within Denmark to halt. That's exactly right. 8.4 million Americans rely on insulin to survive as of 2026. Denmark makes and accounts for 74% of all sales of insulin to the U.S. with no quick alternative to switch to. Denmark considers the halt is a reasonable response to U.S. threats. And you know what? They're not fucking wrong, and you know it, and everybody fucking knows it. How many times have I told you, you can't have a nation above nations. You can't act like a fucking mob boss on the global scene and not respect people's independence and their sovereignty and their fucking intelligence and their morality. You can't do that and act like you're just going to get away with it forever. But Trump is so used to getting away with fucking everything that he doesn't realize you're playing with fire, you bitch. And this is where we are. How about this? Again, want to talk about five-alarm fire? The Canada-China relationship has been distant and uncertain for nearly a decade, says Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada. We're changing that with a new strategic partnership that benefits the people of both our nations. So now Canada and China are already working together. They already have some sort of a deal when it comes to electric cars, I believe. They're going to make other deals as time moves forward now. Canada looks at China and they go, they're dependable, they're reliable, they're good to their word, they're less authoritarian and warmongery than fucking America. That's what they're thinking at this time. And they're not wrong. Watch this ad. Watch.
It's been 8 years since a Canadian Prime Minister visited China. And this is a relationship that has been distant and uncertain for nearly a decade. That has held back investment, it's stalled business growth, and cost Canadian workers good opportunities. And that's why Canada's new government began to recalibrate our relationship with China. Through periods of global tension and disruption, we've created more opportunities for our workers, businesses, and investors by working together. That's the opportunity before us now. More stability, more certainty, and prosperity on both sides of the Pacific.
So you lose every single one of your close allies. You piss away all your sway in the world. You can't. If every country gets together and says, you're done here, there's nothing you could do. You're cooked. It's over. It's done. And Trump is acting like that's not the case. He actually is stupid enough to think the U.S. is the indispensable nation that nobody could ever break from. He actually believes that because he's an idiot and he doesn't see what history looks like, how empires rise and fall all the fucking time, all the time. There were times when the Ottoman Empire was the strongest empire in the world. The British Empire was the strongest empire in the world. The Malian Empire was the strongest. Of course. And what happens? History changes. You lose alliances. You fuck up here, fuck up there. There's reverberating consequences. And he's like actively trying to destroy everything about this country. And finally, breaking, France's President Macron calls for the EU to activate its most potent trade weapon against the U.S. after President Trump's tariff threat over Greenland. Macron is now calling for the USA of the EU's anti-coercion instrument. If used against the U.S., it would restrict U.S. access to the EU market, potentially blocking U.S. banks from EU procurement and targeting U.S. tech giants. This trade weapon has never been used before. You push people around, maybe you get away with it once. Maybe you get away with it twice. If you're fucking super lucky and all the stars line up, you might just get away with it 3 times. But by the time you get to the 4th or the 5th or the 6th or the fucking 84th time, eventually the world goes, we're fucking done with you, bro. And by the way, this is the sort of damage that no president can fix. Even if we get a based-ass lefty Democratic president for our next president, they can come in there, they could apologize to the world, they could try to get everything back on track, they can try to rebuild these alliances. But you know what the world's going to say? We saw what happened with Trump. We saw Trump and like 40% of the fucking country are Republicans. How do we know that in 4 years or 8 years or longer than that, there's not eventually going to be a Republican president that gets back in there and spits in our eye immediately again? They're never going to trust the U.S. ever again, ever. And they're not fucking wrong. We have a cancerous problem, which is a fascist Kool-Aid drinking death cult. MAGA has utterly destroyed the credibility of at least 40% of this country. And so they're never going to trust us. And how do you rebuild stuff when that's the result? How do you do it? You can't. There's no way to rebuild it. There's no way to rebuild it. So the demise of our country is here. And as I said, we are cooked beyond imagination. I think on some level, everybody knows it, but I just spelled it out for you in super clear terms. This is what Trump and MAGA and the Republicans have brought us. And guess what? There is no recovery from it. Once it's over, it's fucking over. And we're all going to deal with the consequences. We're all going to deal with the fallout. We're all going to deal with the debt crisis. We're all going to deal with the new fucking Great Depression. And they'll be in their fucking billionaire bunkers, hiding with all their fucking wealth. And at that time, people will be saying, make guillotines great again. That's where we'll be. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.